Cowboys Nation, this is the moment you've been waiting for because the news is finally official, the speculation is over, the debates can be put to rest, and the Dallas Cowboys have made one of the biggest moves of the season as Amari Cooper has officially arrived in Dallas to finalize and sign a massive 4-year contract that immediately reshapes the future of this franchise and sends a clear message to the rest of the NFL that the Cowboys are done standing still and are ready to aggressively chase championships again. Because from the moment Amari Cooper touched down in Dallas, this move felt different. It felt intentional. It felt calculated. And most importantly, it felt like the kind of decision winning organizations make when they know exactly what they are missing and are bold enough to go get it. And for the Cowboys, that missing piece was a true number one wide receiver, not just a guy who can flash for a few games, not just a speed threat who disappears against elite defenses, but a proven, polished, professional wideout who demands respect every time he steps onto the field. And that is exactly what Amari Cooper brings to this team. Because when you talk about Cooper, you are talking about one of the most technically sound route runners in football. A receiver who doesn't rely solely on athleticism, but instead wins with precision, timing, footwork, and football IQ. The kind of receiver quarterbacks love because he's always where he's supposed to be, always understands leverage, always knows how to sit in zones or beat man coverage, and that matters more than anything when games get tight late in the season. And this is why the Cowboys were so aggressive in making sure this deal got done, because they understand that in today's NFL, you cannot survive, let alone thrive, without a reliable passing game and a receiver who can tilt the field. And for years, Dallas searched for that consistency, searched for that identity, searched for someone defenses actually feared. And now they finally have it locked in for the next 4 years, which is a massive commitment and a massive vote of confidence because a 4-year contract is not a rental. It's not a trial run. It's not a short-term gamble. It's the organization saying, we believe in you, we trust you, and we're building around you. And that kind of belief matters, not just for Cooper, but for the entire locker room. Because when players see the front office making aggressive moves to improve the roster, it builds confidence, it builds belief, and it changes the mindset of the team. And that mindset shift might be the most important part of this signing. Because the Cowboys are no longer talking about potential, they're talking about expectations. And expectations rise the moment you bring in a player like Amari Cooper, because now excuses disappear. Now the margin for error shrinks, and now the pressure shifts to performance, especially for the offense and especially for Dak Prescott, who now has arguably the best receiver he's ever thrown to on a consistent basis. And that connection alone has the potential to elevate Dak's game to an entirely new level because quarterbacks are only as good as the weapons around them. And while Dak has shown he can win games, manage offenses, and lead teams, there has always been that conversation about whether he had a true go-to guy when things broke down, someone he could trust on third and long, someone he could throw to when coverage is tight and the play design fails. And Amari Cooper is that guy. He's the receiver who can win one-on-one matchups, who can beat press coverage, who can separate late in routes, and who can make contested catches when the quarterback needs him most. And when defenses know that, it changes everything because they can no longer load the box. They can no longer cheat safeties toward the run game. They can no longer ignore the outside threats. And that opens up the entire offense in ways fans are just beginning to understand because suddenly the running game has more space. Play action becomes more effective. Tight ends find soft spots in coverage. Secondary receivers see fewer double teams. And the quarterback plays faster and more confidently, all because one elite receiver forces defensive coordinators to respect the pass. And that's the ripple effect of this deal, the ripple effect that goes far beyond stats and highlights. And when you look at Amari Cooper's skill set, it's easy to see why the Cowboys were willing to commit long term, because this is a receiver who can do it all. He can line up outside, he can move into the slot, he can motion across formations, he can run short, intermediate, and deep routes with equal effectiveness. And that versatility gives the coaching staff endless options, because they can design plays specifically to exploit mismatches, whether it's a slower corner, a safety forced into coverage, or a linebacker who has no business trying to keep up. And that kind of flexibility is invaluable in today's NFL, where matchups decide games. And beyond the physical traits, Cooper brings something else that doesn't always show up on the stat sheet, and that's professionalism, preparation, and leadership, because he's not a flashy personality. He's not someone chasing headlines. He's a worker. And those players often have the biggest impact on a locker room, because younger receivers watch how he prepares, how he studies film, how he runs routes in practice. And that raises the standard for everyone. And when standards rise, performance follows. And that's another reason this signing matters so much, because the Cowboys aren't just adding talent, they're adding culture, they're adding accountability, and they're adding someone who understands what it takes to perform at a high level week after week. And that consistency is something Dallas has been missing at times, because there have been stretches where the offense would disappear, where big games would turn into low-scoring struggles, and where fans were left wondering why the talent wasn't translating into results. And moves like this are designed to eliminate those inconsistencies, because when you have a receiver like Amari Cooper, the floor of your offense rises, meaning even on bad days, even when the game plan isn't perfect, even when the run game stalls, you still have a reliable option who can move the chains and keep drives alive. And that's how good teams win ugly games. That's how playoff teams survive tough matchups. And that's how contenders separate themselves from pretenders. And that brings us to the bigger picture. Because this signing isn't just about Amari Cooper, it's about what the Cowboys are signaling to the league. Because for too long, Dallas has been viewed as a talented but inconsistent team. A team that looks good on paper but struggles to put it all together when it matters most. And by locking in a proven wide receiver on a long-term deal, they're showing a willingness to address weaknesses head on rather than hoping things magically improve. And that approach is how franchises change their trajectory, because hope is not a strategy, investment is. And the Cowboys invested heavily here, financially and strategically, and now the pressure shifts to execution, because the talent is there, the pieces are coming together, and the expectations are rising, and fans should feel excited but also realistic, because while this move significantly improves the offense, it doesn't guarantee anything on its own. Football is still a team sport, health still matters, coaching still matters, and chemistry still matters, but what this deal does is remove one of the biggest obstacles that stood between the Cowboys and true contention. And that obstacle was the lack of a consistent, elite receiving threat. And now that obstacle is gone, replaced by a player who has proven he can perform on big stages against top defenses and under pressure. And that's why this moment feels different, because it's not just another signing, it's a turning point, a moment where the Cowboys clearly identified their identity moving forward, an identity built around balance, explosiveness, and confidence. And as fans, it's okay to dream again. It's okay to believe again, because moves like this don't happen by accident. They happen when organizations decide it's time to stop waiting and start acting. And the Dallas Cowboys have acted, bringing Amari Cooper to Dallas on a 4-year deal that has the potential to reshape the offense, elevate the quarterback, energize the fan base, and change how the league views this team. And now all that's left is to see it play out on the field, to see the chemistry develop, to see the highlights roll in, and to see whether this bold move becomes the foundation for something special. Because one thing is certain, the Cowboys are no longer standing on the sidelines watching other teams make moves. They're back in the conversation, back in the spotlight, and back in a position where expectations are high and excuses are gone. And that alone makes this one of the most important signings in recent Cowboys